Skateboarding is in a bubble. It's definitely not going to go anywhere. That bubble's going to burst, and everyone who likes it is going to leave. There's just no hope. We'll get back to that discussion in a minute, but for now, welcome to Rad Rat Video, a channel about skateboarding and all of its forms and all of the things I can think about that are in this skateboarding world. Today I'm answering your questions and your rants. You can send them to radratvideo.com. There's a link on the homepage. If you've sent one in the past and I didn't do it, feel free to send one again. I read every single one of them. Sometimes it's just not something I have a strong enough opinion on, or something that I don't have a good answer to or an entertaining enough answer to. But by all means, try again. I would like to get more of your questions. Okay, the first question is from Goosey, who says, I have 3 different questions. Truck setups. How do you like your trucks, and what's the weirdest setup you know of? You mentioned Day One. That's the weirdest one I know. He doesn't use bushings. His trucks are always just flopping around in the wind. I can't believe that he could do that. I just like them as they are. I don't do anything weird with them. I don't swap out bushings. I know back in the day when I first started skating, the type of bushings you had was kind of a big deal. Like in all the catalogs, you could get like the different brains and the different hardnesses of bushings. It was all about the type of bushings, but I never really cared that much. I used to skate my trucks super tight. I even had a freestyle truck called the Up Truck, which was one solid piece. You could turn a little bit. It would flex a little bit because it was like a rubber kind of, but a really, really hard plasticky rubber. I'm not sure exactly what it was made of. If you leaned really hard, it would turn tiny bit. That was interesting. You could do pressure flips on it, but also had like a foothold, so you can do like truck stands and stuff on it. That was the purpose of it. And I've skated my trucks. I tended to skate them loose enough that I'm not gonna overturn and like get wheel bite. That's the big thing. I don't want to get wheel bite. If I can be just a little bit tighter than that, then that's good. Okay. Your B question, there's one B and then I. B, did you ever get into rollerblading? What did you think of it? No, I've never tried it. The only time I rollerbladed, I mean, I did as a kid, like playing hockey and stuff like that, but I never had aggressive inline skates where I went to skate parks and tried to do grinds and stuff like that. I always hated it as a kid because that's who the kids were at the skate park. Nowadays it's mostly scooter kids, but like the little kids at the park who are just in the way and don't know what they're doing, those were always bladers at the time. But that's not really fair because some of them eventually grow up, they get really good, and they can do really cool tricks. I liked watching it at the X Games because on vert they could get really high. And something about like the way that you can kind of spread out your feet, and then you can almost like launch your foot up, and it felt, I could actually relate to how that might feel. I'd never skated vert and caught air on vert before, or tried to do a kickflip indie on vert before, but I can imagine like just trying to run full speed up a ramp and jumping and grabbing my leg, and I can imagine kind of what it might feel like to do inline vert. And there was also this skate park that I used to go to back in the day growing up, and it had like a little street-ish skate plaza. Street's the wrong word. It was all hips and, you know, like skate park stuff. But then there was this really big stuff over here, and you could drop in, and there was a big kicker and then like a quarter pipe on this side. And I couldn't imagine anyone on a skateboard who wasn't pro doing anything on it. But then kids on their blades would go and do like a backflip and like, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff on it, and an inverted 540 or that type of thing. And it was really cool. And like, I couldn't do that on a skateboard. I didn't know anybody who could do it on a skateboard, but you know, on blades, it was easier. And so you could do cooler things. So it was interesting to watch. I was never that big of a fan. I was never tempted to do it. Don't know if you saw whatever disgusting monster flew right by me, but yeah, those are my feelings on inline. 3, I've been watching a lot of live streams lately, and they vary from games to cooking to just chatting to music lessons. I have yet to find any skateboarding live streams. Why do you think that is? What do you think would make a good skateboarding live stream? The only one I have seen is Bob from Bob's Trick Tips from way back in the day. If you're my age or older, you might know who Bob is. And he'll go skate at his break at lunch or something like that, or on a weekend or whatever. And he'll just set up a tripod, go live, and he'll just kind of skate in a parking lot or maybe like a ditch or something like that. And you can turn it on and watch, and you see him try a trick, and then just comes back, and then he comes over here and he turns real quick, and every now and then he comes back to the camera and talks. But like, how would you make that a more exciting thing? If it's not a stream of an event, like if you go to a contest or something like that, like how would you make a live stream of skateboarding that's interesting? I think you'd have to be mic'd the whole time. And you would have to be talking through, which would be difficult because you'd have to have like the pack, like the mic pack that would connect to your camera, and like be able to talk out the stuff that you're doing. And okay, I'm going to try this. And last time I think I was a little bit too toe heavy, so I'm going to try to do it this way. And have somebody actually following you around and filming. You could do that, but I think it would be a lot of work. I think the stuff that we do in skateboarding instead, where you film the whole session and then you cut stuff out and you do like a voiceover or you stop and talk to the camera sometimes, I think that fits skateboarding better. Doing a skateboarding live stream would be kind of a tough thing to pull off and make good. Although I get why you're asking. Like it would be cool to just have something to kick back, the type of content you're interested in, people casually talking about things that you like while you're doing something else. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody will crack the code on that one. All right, Zeke, what is the difference between a front foot impossible and a 360 hospital flip? Well, Zeke, they are opposites. And I will show you with my handy dandy hangnail handboard. Okay, so a front foot impossible, there's a spider web on it, obviously. I just had it in my hand like in the last video. Front foot impossible, you pop the tail, you do a little bit of a heel flip. Not really. You don't flick it like a heel flip, but you hang your toe off, and as you put pressure, it kind of flips a little bit this way, and then it wraps 360 around, and then you land. Now, a 360 hospital flip would be the exact opposite, where you pop the board, it flips a little bit like a kick flip, and then it spins 360 backside instead of front side. So although they're front foot impossibles, you can consider them both front foot impossibles. They're the opposite. So a front foot impossible is more like a normal one you would pop off the tail. 360 hospital flip would be like a front side impossible, which that can be done. It doesn't wrap that well. It's pretty tough. What you'll usually see is a plasma spin, which you can learn right here, which is like a front side impossible, but your body spins with it. And that way you don't have to lose contact with the board. So there's a lot of different variations and weirdness. You could like nollie and then do a late one this way, or spin it that way and wrap it that way. There's an endless variety of impossible types. But yeah, that's the difference between those. Okay, Thomas Beavers. Hey, Rad, I was wondering what store you get your gear from. I recently moved back to Colorado from Kansas. Want to get back into skating again. There were never any skate shops near me before. Yeah, the best skate shop is the local one near you where the people who work there actually skate. That's my biggest suggestion. But in Fort Collins, there's a place called Marketplace, which I've been to, which was cool. They had a event there that I went to. I'm trying to remember what it was called, the Look Back Library, I think. And what they would do is take old issues of Thrasher and Transworld and this type of thing and get them signed by the person who was on the cover. And then they had like a mobile display. This was just an event that happened there. It's not there on a regular basis, but so you can go and you could see all this cool stuff. And they try to make old skate print stuff more accessible to people. But yeah, that's a cool shop. Kind of small, but I do like it. There's one in Loveland called Skate Rats, which I've been to when they knew who I was. Don't buy their blanks though, because I think they just do spray paint and the paint will come off on your shoes. Don't recommend that. They also do like skates, like for Derby or something like that. But that's a cool shop too. They had a guy who worked there who was a pro in the 80s. According to the owner, I didn't actually meet this guy. But yeah, those are shops in the Colorado area that you could check out. I'm sure there's a million more, but those are the ones that I know of. Okay. Next question is from Garrett, who says, when you play skateboarding games like the Tony Hawk games, do you find yourself only using skaters who are the same stance as you? And if not, mostly skating switch? Whenever I play those games, it messes with my brain to use a skater who's a different stance than me. It really depends. I will usually, if I'm playing in my zero stat run or something like that, I'll try to definitely be someone who is my stance. Well, I try to make myself because I'm the guy with zero stats. You know, that's more of a role-playing thing, but also being my own stance makes it easier to remember if I'm in Switch, because Switch is harder. Now, if I'm playing different types of games, like in Skate, for example, it plays just the same in both stances. And so if you're trying to get a high score, being in Switch is usually better. So if you pick a skater who's the opposite stance as you, then you might end up in Switch more without thinking about it. So it really depends which game and which type of challenge you're doing and the reason why you're going to do the type of thing that you're trying to do. But yeah, I tend to pick a skater who's my stance just because I want to picture myself being in the game. Okay, the last question is from Garrett with one R. He spelled it with one R in the last question. In this question, he spelled it with two R's, but then wrote with one R after it. I'm assuming it's the same guy, who says, with all of these people, pros and YouTubers and such, making their own skate brands, do you feel that the board market is getting oversaturated? Will there inevitably be a collapse because a market won't be able to sustain so many different companies? Again, I've been getting a lot of questions about the skateboarding collapse that's going to happen. A lot of people are concerned about it. They're all sure that it's too popular right now and something bad is going to happen and it's all going to collapse. I talked about it recently, but you're talking about there being so many brands that skateboarding collapses, and I don't see how that could be true. If you go to the skate shop, and it used to be they have like 20 decks that are all hanging up there, and it was 6 brands. Now you go up to the skate shop, there's 20 different skateboards up there, and there's 20 different brands. Does that really matter to you? Now, if you're a big guy, like a big brand guy, and you really like this one specific brand and you always need to see it, that might be a problem for you. But for most people, as long as there's a pro level deck in the size that I like and not too weird of a shape compared to the stuff I'm used to, then it doesn't really matter. Having more and more brands is not that big of a problem. The problem would be if it's small brands who are full-time professional. You know, I'm not talking about if I started to sell decks from my basement. If I didn't make any sales this month, I still have a full-time job. But the small companies who are just barely scraping by right now, as more and more companies come out and nothing really changes and there aren't more skaters to buy these new things, that could make a bit of a squeeze on those smaller companies. So it depends on how all of that works out. Because I just talked about in a different video how the smaller companies will do better because people will like the individuals behind it. But that's really small companies. The ones that are just big enough to be in shops, those could be in trouble if there's a lot more brands. Or trying to find someone to carry your boards when they just got 3 new brands last week. But I don't think you hear about the brands that fail as much. And I don't think you realize how many small brands are owned by bigger brands and they're made at the same spot and they just put a different graphic on. So it's really complicated to say, but I don't think having too many brands is going to cause a crash in skateboarding. I don't think seeing too many brands at the store is going to make you not skate anymore and buy 0 of them. It can be tough on some of those smaller brands, though. All right, so that was the last one for today. I don't think skateboarding is inevitably going to collapse. It is possible. I still think we're on the way up a little bit for the next couple years at least, and then we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, that's it for now. If you have questions, go to radratvideo.com and submit it there on the homepage. You can put anything you want in there. If you have suggestions for another type of video or just want to leave some kind of comment, you can do it right there on that homepage. If you like the channel, you can support it through Patreon. You can hit the join button here on YouTube, and you can also comment, like, and subscribe. So that's it for now. Thanks for hanging out.